Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. We're back at it again with another M3. This one is actually an SMG, and there's issues with shifts between the gears, especially once it warms up. And I've looked through the car and seen, what could have been possibly wrong. No fault codes or anything like that, but it still does not. Pretty much when you're shifting between second and third, there are huge pause, and sometimes it won't go into third from second. So I'm pretty sure it's one of the shift detent springs. We're just going to go ahead and pull everything down, pull off that plug, pull out the spring, and I'll show you guys while I'm at it. Alright, so here's the plug. Here's the spring broken in half.
Wow.
Man, and this took quite a long time to get that plug out. It's a pain in the ass. But we got it out, and this is the problem. So it saves us from pulling the transmission down and checking everything else. It probably would have taken me a little bit longer time to pull the transmission out and do it, but hey, we got it out. That's all that matters. So it can be done without removing the transmission. Alright, now let's replace it. So I finished up the M3, and we got this car in. This is an E60 528i. What the customer's experiencing is there's a bunch of transmission faults. The car won't go into reverse, it won't go into neutral. Only thing it does is it'll go into drive, but then it won't go back into park unless you turn the car off. So I've already done a lot of troubleshooting as far as what it could be, and we're more than likely looking at the solenoids. We already have a solenoid rebuild kit, and we'll just change everything out. Alright, so I finally pulled off the Mechatronics unit off of this transmission, and I actually have a DIY that shows you how to replace the Mechatronics sleeve and all of the valve body sealing sleeves and all that, as well as doing a transmission fluid and filter on the ZF 6 HP transmissions. So that's for the E60s, E90s, E82s, all of those. So, and that will be on my main channel, so make sure you go check that out. But anyways, right now what we're going to do is, since I usually don't do this, but this is one of my customers that has been coming back for a while, and he's been trying to get his car to pass smog. And I did work on it before, and it didn't pass smog. So he brought it back. I did take care of everything, and now I'm about to go get it smogged, and then hopefully it should pass. Well, let's go check it out. Alright, so we're in the car that's about to get smogged. I'm pretty sure it's gonna pass. I did check all the monitors, they're all ready. No pending codes or anything like that. So it should be pretty simple. Just get in there, get the car to them, and hopefully they'll come back with the smog report.
Yeah, we're so glad we don't have to deal with any of this smog stuff.
Yeah, so well actually we do. North Carolina has emissions every year. So smog over in California is only every 2 years. You do have to pay property taxes every year. But for North Carolina, you actually have emissions every year. It's not as expensive and all that. And if you are, if you're not staying in North Carolina, you're temporarily outside of North Carolina, you actually can get a waiver for the emissions in North Carolina. So for us, that works out pretty well. And in South Carolina, which is the neighboring state, literally 10-15 minutes from where my parents live. And over there in South Carolina, you don't have to have any emissions at all. So there's no emissions inspection, you just pay your property taxes once a year. And the funny thing with the property taxes is if your car is over, I think 15 or 16 years old, you have a flat tax on the property tax. So my car is a 01, and my property tax is $25 per year, which is, is nothing. Compared to over here, even for my car over here, it will probably still be around 150, 160. But yeah, California and their taxes, literally their taxes are so high. Every city is almost different tax too. So if you're in Venice, Santa Monica, those places have a lot more tax as well.
But yeah, we get a lot of questions about why our tags are from South Carolina and North Carolina. So that's why we're living here temporarily, so we get waivers.
Yep. Well, my car is registered in South Carolina, so I don't need a waiver. No emissions.
Mine.
Yeah.
Better put it on.
Don't worry, it's on. Before everybody starts commenting, might as well. So, we get there, no check engine light. Turn the car off, turn it back on, no check engine light. He hooks up the scanner to do the smog check or whatever, and like 2 seconds later, check engine light. And it's for an idle control system, which is weird because I've already cleaned all the idle control valve and everything. I think this is just something that will reset itself because all the other monitors and everything is ready, and the only code that came up was for the idle control system. And it's actually a code that I haven't really seen before. It's a P0505, but I'm pretty sure it'll just go away by itself. Worst case scenario, I'll just pull off the idle control valve in a little bit. I'm not gonna reset the light. I'll let it reset itself. That way I don't have to do a drive cycle or anything. Oh man.
Yep, so I failed. Long story short.
One check engine light at a time.
Yep.
Alright, so it turns out the code was for the idle control valve. I just reset the adaptations and the code cleared itself. All the monitors are still ready. So we should be good. I'm about to go try it one more time. Hopefully it passes this time. Be right back. It finally passed. All good to go. Now we're back to work on the Mechatronics. Mechatronics. So these slip right onto each of the solenoid valves. These are the connectors for it. Here's another dowel placement rod, so that way the whole electronic assembly goes properly into the hydraulic unit. And now you can actually see all the solenoid valves right here. And there is a plate held in with all of these T30 bolts. So we're going to remove all of these bolts and lift the plate up. So this plate actually keeps all of these valves secured in here. So as you can see, we've made quite a bit of a mess. So now we gotta clean that up. Alright, so before I started working on this car, the issues were there were a bunch of fault codes on the transmission. The car only had 2 options in terms of what you can do. So when you first turn the car on, it'll be in park. You can't put it in reverse, you can't put it in neutral. You can only put it in drive. But once you put it in drive, the car won't go back into park unless you turn the car off, and then it automatically goes back into park. And that's mainly because of the E-shift. A lot of people usually think it's the actual shifter itself. And you can check that by removing the shifter, checking all the ribbon cables, all the connectors, make sure everything's plugged in. And I mean, all that was fine on here. And then I also, you know, reset the adaptations, reset the codes, and a lot of stuff just kept coming back. There are also traction control codes and a bunch of other stuff. And you might also want to check your battery. That's something that's very often overlooked. Low voltage on these cars can cause a lot of issues. So make sure that your battery is fully charged and make sure it's a healthy battery. And then, so what we really ended up doing to fix the issue, we replaced all the solenoids, we replaced the Mechatronics sleeves, all 4 of the actual smaller sleeves, and then the actual valve body sealing sleeve. Replaced that, replaced the filter, which is built into the pan, put all new fluid in it, and then I got back in the car, reset adaptations again, reset all the fault codes, turned the car on, and while the car was on, we made sure everything else got filled up to the proper up until a proper operating temperature at 40 degrees Celsius. So all that's good. I'm gonna take it for a test drive, then we'll put it back on the lift once it cools down, and just double check the level again, make sure all that's good, and then we can put the covers back on and we should be good to go. But yeah, when I did start refilling, when I was doing the final step of filling the transmission, the car did go into reverse and drive and neutral and all that fine. So hopefully everything should be fine. Definitely need gas. There's no gas. There's no gas. Maybe I should take it to the gas station first. I think for like $5. Alright, guide me out.
What? Potty break for Fluffy. Bring it here. Drop. Drop. Good.
Alright, car's done. I test drove it, filled up some gas. It's still shifting very weird. That's because of all the new solenoids. It's going to take a little while for all the adaptations to reset. Usually it takes up to like maybe a week, 2 weeks, depending on how much you drive and where you're driving. But once that's done, it should shift a lot smoother eventually. But as of right now, I mean, all the codes are gone. It goes into all the gears fine. So hopefully that should be the end of it. We're gonna let the car cool down and then I'll double check the fluid level one more time and then the customer can come pick up the car. Alright, so the fluid's filled properly. All the gears are fine, no check engine lights, no transmission fault codes. Everything's good to go. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure you stay tuned for my next vlogs. We've got a lot of projects going on. We've got a lot of work ahead of us as well. So we'll try to keep you updated as much as we can. Thanks for watching.
No beamer when I pull in the sun. Change on me just like Polo the Don. Don't be fronting, girl, you know I'm the one. Number 2 is not an option and they know they can't stop me. Take off, I can't take no breaks off. I've been working hard.